Of Let's Talk Money with Friends. Every Wednesday, we take the time to welcome you to our show, and also and you take the time to welcome us too, because we know that we've had friends who said that, they're watching the show at home, at work, or even later on, where if they didn't have a chance to see it live, they're listening to it while they're driving. So we want to thank you for taking the time to like, to share, and to make a comment. It's very important to us that you encourage us with the work that we're doing. So tonight's topic is another great, exciting topic. I have my friend Perpetuity Robert with me tonight, and we're gonna have a good conversation. We actually had a couple more people who wanted to join us, but life happens, right, Perpetuity?
Yeah.
Life happens, and we are really ready and willing to do the work that we need to do in order for you to get excited tonight. So what is tonight's topic? Tonight's topic is that we posted it on our Facebook page. It's Your Kids Matter. However, should they become your priority number one? And the reason why, Perpetuity, that I wanted to have that conversation, it's so funny. I went to church on Sunday and the pastor was talking about parenthood and how important it is for you to become an excellent parent, and basically what you can teach your children so that they become, responsible adults. Mm-hmm. And he even mentioned that, you don't have to be a parent today to get ready to be a better parent, or you even have to be someone who's planning on being a better parent. You can learn how to be a better parent, because I say parent because you don't have to have your own children to be a parent to your nieces and nephews and other kids in your environment, because the wisdom and the love that you give to them will last a lifetime. So as he was sharing that, and I was sitting at the church with a friend of mine who has a kid, and we actually had an opportunity to talk about, how important it is for her to really teach him the way he should go, so that when he's older, he will be the adult that she's looking forward to seeing him being. So, and then the next day I got a text from a family member, and it was this article that I posted. And this article is about how nowadays families have prioritized children over their marriages and over their relationships. So I thought, let's talk money with friends. We talk about money and financial matters, and we know every aspect of our lives encompasses money. And we wanted to have a comprehensive conversation tonight so that you will understand that your priorities, the way you prioritize your life, will affect not only your finances, but also your legacy. And we've been talking about legacy, and we've been talking about so many different things. So without further ado, I just want to give you, Perpetuity, an opportunity to introduce yourself quickly, and we'll dive into some really conversations that we started even before we went live. We've been talking about this topic, and we wanted to share it live with our friends. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. So excited for the topic today. So my name is Perpetuity Robert. I'm a naturopath, and I help people that are facing health challenges to heal themselves naturally with natural remedies. So, and with no side effect. That's a good part of it, right? It got me. Yes. And I work exclusively online. That means you don't have to move. You just have to take an appointment with me, and then I can help you through Zoom consultation. So, and I send you everything that you have to buy online. So it's easy peasy with me, right, Gabriel?
Yeah, it's easy breezy. I know I am one of your clients. You've helped me a lot, because health, we talk about your health is your wealth. Mm-hmm. And how important that is. Like, you could have all the money in the world, because we've seen sick, ill family members. You could have all the money in the world, all the money in the bank. If you're not healthy, you really don't have anything, because you cannot buy health with your money. But at the end of the day, if you take the money that you have today and do something to take care of your health, definitely you can preserve what you have. So the conversation about, this article, I mean, you read the article. I just want to ask you, because you are married with children, right? So you remember the email that I sent from Betty? I said, you do not have to be married with children to have a conversation. And I know several of the friends that I send the email to asking them to be part of the show. A couple of them saying like, "Oh, well, I'm married, but I don't have kids," or "I'm married, oh, I have kids, but I'm not married." You do not have to be married or with children to have a educated conversation about any topic. Okay, so this topic is a topic that is important to everyone because your children, they're part of society. And when you do a great job with them, guess what? We all get to benefit.
Oh,
Right?
yes.
So that's so the way they are raised is as concerned to us as it is of a concern to you as a parent. So with that being said, I feel perfectly all right and perfectly capable and qualified to talk about this topic because I know how important children are to me and how important the next generation is to me because I'm gonna need them to take care of me.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And, and Gabriel, it's so true what you say. People think that I'm a mother only if I birth children. No, your aunt, right? Your sister. You are like at church. You have having children. All those children that you're teaching, they are some way your children. You have. I mean, in the African community, you see everyone raise children.
It takes a village.
It takes a village to raise children. So now that individualist things everybody in their own corner doesn't help society at all. Doesn't help society. All those
yeah, go ahead.
That you learn, you probably when you finish to read that article, you have your sister, you have your cousin, you have a friend, and you're gonna probably will advise them. You tell them, you know what, you better pay more attention to your marriage and your children. You know, you pass on the knowledge that you have.
Exactly. And the truth of the matter is we don't have all the answers. We are here to have a discussion.
Yes.
And that's what we want to encourage families to have tonight and any other night, to have discussion about what's important to you. That's what we do on Wednesdays. We discuss what's important to us. And also we know that relationships nowadays, people enter a relationship for a number of different reasons. So your reason may not be the reason why you should, most people are entering a relationship. So if this information does not apply to your relationship, let it be, right? However, we always think that it's important to think about consequences of our actions, right? And your action, the decisions that you make in your family, in your life will definitely impact not only you, not only the next generation of your family members, but also society at large. So we've been talking about generational legacy and how we did a show, I think you were part of that show, where we said that you're not raising kids, but you're actually raising adults. The book that we referred to said that how to raise adults. You're not raising kids. So therefore, how you do it at home will determine how we get it outside in the workplace, how we get it at the job, how we get it everywhere else in society because of you. You, parent, are responsible for everything that happens in this society. So with that being said, why don't we start with the first question? So based on your experience, right, or your experiences, who do you think most couples, prioritize in the family? Do you think they prioritize the spouse or their children? And how has that changed for you over time? Have you seen a change? Because this article talked about the change. This man said that, over time, things have changed. When he was a child, it was primarily the parent, but now it's all about the kids. So what do you think? You think it's true? You agree?
I mean, I think it's true. I mean, in my community, in my friends that I have at school, also when I was talking about, I think the husband is the most important, is like, excuse me? You don't have any identity yourself, right? Everything is your husband. They don't understand that. They say that the children is most important because the husband can leave them or the wife can leave them at any time. You understand what I mean? So the focus become their children. I think because also, if that's in change since I was a kid, I can tell since I was a kid, it was already there. Unfortunately, that's the only thing that I remember as a Haitian child, because you have to understand that I grew up also. Everybody's family environment is different. I grew up with my single mom, so I did not have a father's figure. Therefore, I was the one that is most important. You understand what I mean? And I truly remember that my mom told me, I was like, tell my boyfriend that I'm raising Perpetua that she can become someone. Listen to that. Someone that is really like having a job, working in the office, but not, I'm not raising a wife to go and clean his husband clothes or cook. So it's already said that I'm not raising that woman to be a wife. I'm raising her to be someone in the society.
A professional.
Yeah. A professional. So that means since I grew up, it was there, unfortunately. I don't know if it's because my surrounding, a lot of my family, they were not married. Maybe it's that. But that's what I had, like a reality.
Yeah. So I think you touched on a really important aspect here, because for a lot of people, this article is assuming that, those children are growing up in a two-parent home, and that they have, you get an opportunity to prioritize a spouse. Because again, for those who grew up in a single parent home, they never had that opportunity to look at, how do you take care of a spouse? How do you treat a spouse? You see it on TV. We all remember the Cosby Show, and I remember Claire was always the most important person in the family. Her feelings and her needs were were put first, and the children were like a byproduct, just like the article saying, your kids are a byproduct of your union, not the reason for your union, right? Not the primary reason for it. So in today's societies, it looks like the kids are running the show. Would you agree? Like they're running the show. They like their priorities, their everything, their needs take precedence over everything else in the family, right? The couples usually focus, or the parent, or usually focus on, what's important to the kid, their schedule and their time, and they really neglect the spouse. So I think that's one of the reasons why, like the article, when this man said that, as a young couple, millennial, like, who is the most important thing in your family? And what they say? My children. And when he asked them why do you think? So the next question is, why do you think most parents prioritize kids over their marriages or their union? Why do you think so?
I think how do we say that? The importance of marriage decline, the sacredness of marriage too, because even though we're not talking about religion here, but religion always places marriage as a higher standard, right? For example, I'm a Latter-day Saint, and they say that to be exalted, you need to be go to eternal marriage. So that means marriage is, it's a top, it's important, it's what is great. And in the old days, to have a respect, marriage was respect, right? Is how do we say that?
It was a respected institution.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, guys, I'm not an English speaking. Respected institution. So because of now, that's anybody can have children, you have to be married. We are at the question mark if it's not because of the sacredness of marriage that is not there anymore. That's what is happening. Okay, and then in a lot like me, I did not grow up in a family where there was marriages. Even my aunts were not married. So that's me. I only see my grandfather was married, but my mom was not, my aunt was not. So that was hard to really understand. If it was not religion, I will not understand how important really was marriage.
Yeah. So the importance of marriage and understanding what that is not something that most people grow up understanding. And I know if you grew up in a very unloving home, where, we say priority as in, like when you go to a company, right? The article even mentioned that you go to a company, the person who had the final say so is the CEO. This person is in charge. They take the brunt of everything. They're responsible for the successes and the failures of the organization. But
Mhm.
of course, they don't do it by themselves. They need the support system in order to make it happen. In a relationship or a marriage is the same way. You have the spouses, the people who are on top of the pyramid, right? And they're supposed to set precedent as to how situation runs in the family. But if you grew up in a home where it wasn't loving, it wasn't kind, and you like, when I grow up, I'm gonna have my children, I'm gonna treat them differently, and I'm gonna do everything for them that I didn't have for myself. Many people, many couples, that's what's happening, especially women. I'm not saying it's not so true for men, but for a lot of women that I've talked to, yeah, I grew up, in a little unloving home, so I want to give my kids everything, right? I want to show them the love that I didn't have. I want to be selfless because my parents were selfish, not understanding that you can do a little bit too much, right? You can go above.
The same way I saw a husband that's their dad was not present at home, right? Their dad was never there for them. The mother was there, and now they don't want to be like their father, and their only focus is the children. They spend a lot of time, so they go out to work, and when they get home tired, the only things are like they're sitting down and having time for their children, because they did not grow up having a father's presence, and they want to be there for their for their children. They
They want
want
to be
to
the
give them all that they did not have as a child with their children.
So basically, in essence, they're looking to give to their kids what they didn't have.
They did not
Yeah.
have.
So again, going back to what we started earlier, you don't have to be someone who's married or with children to understand this idea of how important it is to have a healthy home, because we all been children. I grew up in a home where my mom and dad were together, but there were a lot of issues because of infidelity, and we had a lot of challenges in the home, and I saw that, and I know it impacted me and affected the way I see relationships and I see marriages. So I think your children and the people who are not married with kids, they know what it takes to have a healthy relationship, and if they haven't experienced that, they can also learn. And that's the reason why I love that what the pastor said on Sunday. You don't have to be a parent yet to try to learn how to become a better parent, because the person that you are as a single person with no children will be the person that you are when you have kids. Of course, there are some things that are going to be different, but in essence, you're going to be the same person. So definitely, people do not prioritize their relationship over their kids, because they're trying to overdo it. They're trying to give them what they didn't have. So I think you kind of mentioned that earlier. You said that in a world where people are knowingly going into relationships or marriages with an exit strategy in mind, they know they're not going to last. They're just doing this for formality and blah, blah, blah. And how can you expect somebody to prioritize a spouse when the spouse can leave at any time? What do you think? That's why this article, assuming that people are in healthy relationships and they want to be together, but knowing that over 60% now of marriages ended up in divorce, and some folks, like you said, would say, my children are not going to leave me, but the spouse can leave anytime. So how do you prioritize when things can happen?
So I think we have to, like you said, we have to go to the roots of the things, right? And of course, I tend to put my beliefs in everything. For example, I believe that family can be together forever. So if I go with that things in mind, that family can be together forever. So, and that eternity, that togetherness have to start here on this earth. So there is no exit for me. If I go with the end of mind, the end result, remember we talked about that in a show, going with the end result in mind, So that's mean I'm gonna have to work really hard to get the things that I want, right? Because if the end is the togetherness, the family as a organization like mother, father, and children, and in my beliefs, like the men and the women are married for eternity, then the children are sealed into that marriage. So if there is no the how do you say that, the noyau, the roots, which is the mother and the father, the children won't be able to be sealed together with the parents. So that means I'm gonna have to work hard to make that relationship happen, to make it stay there, to make it alive, give it the nurture that it needs. Doesn't mean that it's not gonna be hard. It doesn't mean that everything will be 100%, but every time I will try to get the end of mind and work the things together. If something's not happening, we're gonna sit down, we're gonna work. And sometimes you have to understand, sometimes life get busy too, right? But if the end is in your mind, if you know the result that you want to have, you're gonna try your best. So you're gonna see that is you first, then the children will come after.
Yeah. And I think too, it's so important to, like you say, go to the roots of it all, right? And what comes to first, the chicken or the egg? You know, like, you know, why do we have exit strategies before you even get married? So if marriage, the institution itself, the way it was meant to be, is not the priority that you have, it's not something that you believe in, then this conversation doesn't even apply to you, because you are running a different show. It's not the same show, right? But if you, it's not a same show, but if marriage is important to you, and you understand, because like I think I was saying to you previously that, you know, diamond, right? Diamond is just a rock, right? But we put so much value, right? Oh my gosh, my diamond, you know, we're willing to pay $10,000 for a little piece of diamond, right? Why? Because we as a society have decided this is something that is valuable. Let's say supply and demand, blah. It's all about what we value, right? We decided that we will value this precious stone, and we're gonna say it's worth a lot of money, and people are willing to pay $25,000 for a ring, for an engagement ring, right? It's the same way. You have marriages, you have marriage. Do you value that? What's the value of that to you? And how do you value it? What are you willing to do? What effort? Are you willing to pay $25,000 for a piece of it? And by that, I'm being euphemistic, but like, are you willing to put in the work to make sure that it's worth something? Because there are people who do come into this institution and they want to join in, and they're all about they're jokers. They will come in and waste people's time. We are very familiar with those type of people. You know, they'll waste your time. They come in knowing that they don't have what it takes to be in an institution like that, right? It's almost like going to the diamond store to buy a ring for $25,000 when you don't have $25 in your bank account, right? You have to understand the value, and also you have to be willing to put in the work, and you also have to be willing to pay the price, right? If you're not willing to pay the price, then this conversation here doesn't apply to you, right? So with that being said, so we talked about finances, right? How does prioritizing children affect your finances, lives, and especially health? Since you are the health guru, how does that prioritizing your children in your relationship?
Prioritize your children is gonna be in your health, gonna have frustration. Because no time to spend as couple, okay, to nurture each other. You're gonna get sick and you're gonna have to spend money. And massage, for example, massage. Couple can give each other massage. Actually, there is a kind of a massage, energetic, aided energy medicine. There's a massage for couple where you go around the spine, and each other we massage around the spine from the neck all the way a massage, it seems that there is energy that's exchanging between the couple when they are doing that, because around the spine there's a lot of nerves and there's a lot of energy going there. And they even say if you're mad at each other, go and massage each other back. It's put you in the same energy level. Yeah.
So we know the financial intimacies. We talk about all different type of, so this is very intimate activities here. But the financial intimacy that you can lack too if you are, yeah.
You know what's happened sometimes? I found that there's some couple in their finance, they don't even discuss. The husband has their own money, the wife has their own money. One spend there, the other spend there. What's happened? Family become broke because we don't have the same vision. And even if when you're a group, an organization, they sit down and they talk about the budget. And this is what they call sometimes mastermind, right? So because they sit down together and they think together, there was new idea coming how to make the organization work, more money. But if a couple, they don't sit down to do all that, their finances gonna suffer, right? They don't sit down to understand or to see how they can create wealth for themselves and for their children, right? And both of them are spending money.
Sometimes, like the divide and conquer, sometimes your kids will come in and say, Mom, can I have this? And it's something you cannot afford because perhaps you have gone to a budget and realized that we cannot afford this trip for you, little Johnny. But because you're not having a conversation and you're prioritizing your kids, all of a sudden you are squirming to pay for a trip perhaps you shouldn't pay for. And then now you're fighting because there's a lot of fighting when money is being spent and there's not a lot of it for that, for frivolous activities. So there's so many ways that I think, we talked about, like I was saying earlier, we talk about like intimacy, right? To being intimate with your spouse, but financial intimacy is as important as physical or what do you call it, relational intimacy, because if you don't have financial intimacy, many times you cannot have all the other type of intimacies. Would you agree?
Yes, yeah. I think so.
So how long have you been married, Pepperty?
20 years.
20 years. So I mean, like I know offline, I don't know how much you want to share, but offline you said that initially when you were telling your friends that you were prioritizing your husband over, you have 3 boys, right?
3 boys.
So can you share a little bit of your personal and how have you been able to do it differently and how you've been able to keep your marriage for 20 years?
You got me with that question. Yes. I did not expect that. Yes, like I said, I do believe in that marriage can be eternal, and marriage is an important part in in my life I'm a religious person too. Not afraid to say that. In my religion, we prioritize really family relationship, and I can say that I did not see my mother was not married, okay, and my husband grew up. His mother and father was married, but the father, was not really present at home, and we had to learn a lot. We have to learn to live as a couple, and we are still learning. We are not the perfect one. But the only thing that I know that I'll always say and point out everything to my husband. So if my child, 3 boys, the way they speak, they speak loud, I'm like, no way, not to my husband. I will say that. Make sure that they respect my husband. Make sure that they talk properly to my husband. And make sure sometimes when I set the table and I put the food on the table and my husband is tired, I'm like, you go get the dish and go wash for your dad. No way, no. It's your dad. He went out to work and you are there to help. That's your contribution to the house. That's your contribution to show love to your husband. And I find too, praying all the time is really helping me, because you have to understand that both of us, we grew up in different families, different backgrounds, different education. You see, it's not always easy to say the things the same way. You understand that praying together is really, really important. Is that something that really helped me myself to go through those 20 years?
Very important. Thank you for sharing. And I think for me, because I was a child, I grew up in a home and I saw how the priority wasn't there for the marriage because of infidelity, not for my mother, but for my father. Yes, I'm saying it publicly. Because of that, as a child, I remember saying, where's the priority here? And children, the article talks about how when you care for your spouse, you are automatically caring for your children, right? Because they're seeing how you treating mom, they're seeing how you treating dad. Like you say, don't talk to my husband like this. Oh, wow. So we are your kids, and you saying like your husband, meaning like he's more important than us, mom. Yes, he is more important.
They told that
and
to
they
me.
see that, guess what? Exactly. All of a sudden they're gonna say, oh, mom values dad, so therefore we need to respect that too, right? And it's the same way, when you take care of your spouse and you take care of the relationship, your children are gonna be watching and they're gonna say, oh, there's respect here, there is understanding here. I need to imitate. I need to become the very same person as my parents, because when I get into my own relationship in the future, I know how to treat that spouse. Because unfortunately, many bad marriages out there, people treating their spouses really bad, is because they were at home in an environment where the husband or the wife was very abusive towards each other. And because of the abuse, the kids learned how to be very abusive. So my last question was, what are some of the horrific consequences to marriages when kids are priority? Not only marriages, the family, the community.
Yeah, but they become king children, right? Like a king. Everybody, they
right.
expect everything from everyone, because that's what they are being raised to.
Spoiled brats. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
definitely.
And I was gonna say something before the first question that you asked me, because I get married. Sometimes as you have to say, to remind the husband or the wife, I am the priority. The kids are God, they're gonna leave. It's me. I need my time. I need, and you are, yeah, you have to speak, because I make the mistake in the beginning too, where I did not speak, and that's not good at all. It affects your health. And
I noticed that some people can even get jealous of the kids when the focus and the priority is.
It's sure we get it. Yes, sure. And that's happened a lot with the men. When babies are born and the men find that they are taking care more of the children than them. So I have a couple of friends actually that could not understand their husband, how come their husband are so jealous of their children. A lot.
So it happens, and when the priority is not there, divorce, right?
Yeah.
We talked about 60+% of the marriages that ended up in divorce because of the fact that the spouse is not a priority. If your kids are the priority, then infidelity.
Thanks, because I know that.
I'm not saying, infidelity, we're not saying that can be an excuse, but it can definitely explain why someone will step away, right? Because they're not priority.
I saw that.
Loneliness, the worst thing. If you've never experienced that, we don't wish it on you, but the worst thing is to be in a marriage and be lonely, right? Because you're not being heard, you're not being seen, you're not being seen. Everybody wants to be seen.
Right? Everybody. And I told you, like I have, some women that when they have children or even they get pregnant, it was hard for them to have a sexual relation, to go in sexual relation with their partners. And sometimes that started infidelity too. I'm not excusing the man that is doing that, but
the woman, yeah.
Yeah, or the women, because they don't speak it out. They don't explain themselves and sit down and tell them the husband, this is how I feel. This is what's happening. And sometimes because they did not take the time to really spend time together, the only time is having sex. Sex is not everything. There is not
Yeah.
that intimacy, that having fun together. Even in our community, as women so busy cooking the pot in the kitchen, make the big meals, and think that
Yes.
the only way to keep our men is to cook the food all the time. And there's the women that is working outside and coming and cooking the pot, and no time to spend, no time to be nice, no time to feel good, to feel pretty, and to charm their husband.
Yeah, it's so funny. My cousin was supposed to be on the show today, but because he lives like in North Dakota, far away, like in the Midwest, and he couldn't be on the show because of the time difference. I guess he didn't realize the time difference. But I remember that's a great example of a great marriage. I remember growing up hearing my uncle and his wife talking, and this couple, they used to have conversation for hours talking. And 7 years ago, I went to visit him and his wife in Atlanta, and I was next door. And he came home from work. For 2, 3 hours, they were having conversations. And these folks, they've been married for, I think, over close to 40 years now. And they're still like, the two lovebirds. Why? Because they have 5 kids. But at no point, I don't think I've ever thought for 1 second those kids were more important than the wife or the husband. Never. Because he's always made his wife priority from day one, and she does the same thing. And I think that's what we want to encourage. If you are in a marriage and if you value, like we say, the institution of marriage, and you are in a relationship and you have, this article really made a lot of sense to me. We're not here to judge people who are not doing it right. And I think, just like we've said it many times, if you are heading someplace and you're realizing that where you're heading is not the right place, and you would like to change because in your gut, you're saying, my gut feeling is telling me something is wrong here. I need to change it because it's not the legacy that I want to leave for my kids or for the next generation or for society. I want my kids to become more independent and less entitled. And I want them to get a sense of what it feels like to have a healthy home. And I want them to replicate the same thing with their own families. You definitely have work to do. Would you say, Pravati, have work to do? Nobody's perfect.
No, there is no perfect. We have to change, as you learn and you change, you implement. It's a lot. It's a lot of work, especially for the ones that grew up like me, that did not have any model. We did not have any model. We have
or those who grew up with a bad mom, with something that wasn't healthy.
Yes.
A lot of work to do.
To break, like you say, to break the legacy of unhappy home. Yeah. And we have to work. We have to work a lot. We have to change ourselves in order to change. And like we said I think last show, we say that the legacy that we are leaving to our children is not only the financial legacy, is health. And it is part of health, healthy home, healthy children. Because when mother and father are happy at home, you're going to have happy children too.
It's going to trickle down to them. So in essence, the key is to, let's talk money with friends. We talk about money, but, the idea of having a healthy financial life, you cannot have that if you don't have intimacy. No. And if you cannot have a conversation with your spouse. I've been to homes where, like folks call me, oh, I want to have life insurance. I want to have this. And then their spouse are fighting because they don't trust each other. They don't really not interested in doing what is best for each other. And it's so hard to work with a family that doesn't have the type of intimacy that is needed to first, as a family, priority as a family. And then everything else comes easily because of the fact that they already have the great foundation of love and priority. So we wanted to have this conversation, and I think we've had it, and we will encourage everyone. Because family is so important to our community and to our society. What you do at home will trickle over and attack me and treat me. Your kids will become husbands and wives, and we don't want the ones who are self-destructive, in a sense. So thank you so much. And the article says that America cannot handle that, and anywhere you are in the world you're watching, your society doesn't need that. Okay. So thank you so much for your time today. We enjoy the conversation with you, Perpetuity. And also those who couldn't make it, we'll try again next time. Thank you. Stay tuned, like, share, and make a comment. And yeah, thank you so much for watching.